in center, right?
What's going on, Yankees family? I'm your boy Gio. I'm here with my co-host every week, Tyler. How you doing, brother?
Doing good today. How you doing?
Not too bad. I'm wearing the Toon Squad hat, because this squad right now, this Yankee team is a bunch of Looney Tunes. But other than that, pretty good.
Yeah, are you sure they're not the Goon Squad right now?
Yo, you can call it many different names. This team can go by many different names, many different memes. But at the end of the day, the Yankees did do a couple things this first half that were good. A lot of it was bad. Just give me your overall take on the first half, and then we can get into specifics.
Okay. First half was fairly disappointing. I mean, it's a tale of two seasons. The Yankees were 30 and 19 with Judge,
Mm.
and without Judge, they're 19 and 23. So obviously, there's a big difference. Judge is the heart and soul of this team, and without him in the lineup, they just don't produce on offense. They don't hit with runners on base, and then they lose a ton of slugging because Judge was on pace to lead the league in home runs like he did last year. But Judge is probably the second best player in the league behind Otani right now. But if he's not healthy, then the Yankees are abysmal on offense, at least.
I agree. And any given day, I think Aaron Judge is better than Otani. I just think that Otani gets his unicorn status just because he plays on both sides, pitching and hitting. But we could save that debate for another day.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about the first half, right? The Yankees finished 49 and 42. Better than a lot of people would think as how as bad as they have been. The Yankees are fourth in the division, one game out of a wild card spot, or one game back from a last place wild card spot. We've been riddled with nothing but injuries. That continues to be a common theme with the New York Yankees for going back, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years. What do you think? What is your thoughts on what can really be contributing to a team having so many injuries? It's like record-setting injuries year after year.
I mean, a few of them are those kind of freak injuries. I think a little bit has to do with it is the age of the team.
Mm,
If you have a bunch of 24, 25-year-olds, you don't hear anything about the Reds getting injured.
yeah.
They have a bunch of young guys. If you're going to put out a team of Stanton, Donaldson, Bader, all these guys who have had a history of getting injured, even Rodon, and and you expect it to change, it's very unlikely. If somebody has an injury, they're about four times more likely to get another injury.
Mm.
So they're just playing. They're, they're playing with grenades right now. It's like they're trying to fix a problem that can't be fixed. I mean, maybe it could if they really, really put a lot of effort into it and really prepared correctly. But
Mm.
I don't know what's going on behind the scenes because I'm in this chair and they're in their chair. So
And it's crazy, right? You think about the pitching staff. We come into the season expecting Garrett Cole number one, Carlos Rodon number two, Luis Severino number three, Nestor Cortez number four, and Frankie Montas number five. Best rotation maybe in 30 years of any team. In debatable maybe ever, right? Frankie goes down immediately. Carlos Rodon goes down immediately, and Luis Severino starts the season on the IL as well. With 60% on your starting rotation on the IL, how does a team expect to pull through with that type of just blatant injured? Like how can you play injured that way, and how can this team continue to perform? What do you think? What will you attest to how good this team has been, even with those injuries to start the season?
yeah, I mean the pitching has still performed fairly well. And I still think it has an opportunity to be a very top level rotation.
Mm,
I think I think Severino may need to take a little break and go to the bullpen. Um, and I wouldn't be afraid to move a Clark Schmidt or a Domingo Herman because you have guys like Will Warren, Clayton Beater, and even like Luis Heel and Montas coming back towards the end of the year. And I think they can contribute, and it's really hard for them to not be worse than some guys. I mean, the pitching hasn't been an issue, but they may, deal for a rental pitcher if the opportunity presents itself and then rearrange the roster a little bit because I do think they did realize that, what they're doing right now isn't really working. So maybe some drastic changes are coming, but I doubt it. I think they're just going to use the offense as an excuse and firing the hitting coach as a way to use a scapegoat to kind of get out of that situation.
I agree. They haven't been an issue, and we can get into what the big problem is for the Yankees. The offense. The Yankees did a few things right in the beginning of the season. They called up Anthony Volpe and they let him take the reins as shortstop. They started the season with a platoon in left field, which I didn't agree with. And time told that Aaron Hicks is just not fit to be a Yankee. He was released and got picked up by Baltimore, and then just kind of immediately played well. He's come down to earth ever since, but he came on strong in Baltimore. Do we'll get into the Dylan Lawson being let go and the Yankee offense trouble, but do you really think that it's a thing that people just can't play in New York?
I mean, we've seen it time and time again.
Mm,
Every guy comes to New York, they're playing crappy, and then as soon as they leave, they're like amazing again. I mean, Joey Gallo's never going to have a high average, but he goes to the Twins and he starts hitting. And you look at all these other guys, they say the pinstripes are a little heavy. These pinstripes aren't too heavy because I don't have to go on the field.
yeah, they're a little light.
But yeah, they're a little light. It's a little hot out. Gotta dress warm. Um, but some guys I'm sure if you're a baseball player in New York, every single moment of your life that isn't behind closed doors, you're like bombarded by media. The fans never have nice things to say, and that people that affects your mental health.
Mm.
And they just as important performing physically is you got to be prepared mentally. And I know Harrison Bader talked about this a lot. He's just got his routine with the mouth guard really getting him focused. And same thing, Domingo really he focused on looking down. He doesn't even look at the catcher when he's
Yeah.
taking the sign. He's just looking down, listening for the sign, and then picking up the sign. So he's not got thoughts running through his head, not knowing what to do. He just gets the sign and throws. And if you take those like thought processes that make it so that you're just performing and don't have to think about it, so you're in the zone,
Yeah.
that's when you really can perform. And some guys, they just maybe they don't have selective hearing and they hear all the boos or the FUs coming from the stands. But I mean, New York's a tough place to play. We know it's the biggest market, and a lot of guys have been successful there, but a lot of guys have not because they're not built for it. But maybe maybe the Yankees got to improve their scouting to really have some sort of screen to see if somebody will be good in New York.
Now with Aaron Hicks, like I understand the Gallows of the world, the Sonny Grays of the world. They did leave, and they didn't have success with the Yankees, and they left, and they did have success. But Aaron Hicks was here for a good part of 8 seasons, and he had decent years with us. And I think it's more of a philosophy change with our hitting coaches, with the organization philosophy of just hitting just launch angle, exit max exit velocity. Because if I want to actually bring this up, like looking at the Yankees stats for the year so far, we're 91 games. They ranked, you know, 29th in hits, 28th in doubles. They're doing good in home runs, but they usually rank one or two. 23rd in walks, 27th in hit by pitches, 21st in stolen bases. Average is almost dead last, 28th. There's only two teams worse than them. What do you think? What do you think is the real issue with our offense?
Well, first we'll bring up Aaron Hicks because he started the year on the
Mm,
team. But Aaron Hicks, I think he's playing the wrong professional sport. He's a golfer. He's literally a golfer. His swing is meant for golf. And to go from playing golf to going to play baseball back and forth, which I know he does, I don't know how you can have a consistent swing, especially being a switch hitter. That makes it even harder. He's got to put in twice the amount of reps on both sides, and I he may be putting in a ton of work, but it just didn't show off in New York. But then he goes on a little streak in Baltimore, so everybody's like, oh, it's New York. But I don't think he's playing the right sport. Anyways, to go back to the offense, the Yankees have had the same problem each year for the last, say, 3 or 4 years. Um, they don't put the bat on the ball. They're constructed a lineup of a bunch of big right-handed hitters who aren't going to succeed against those big right-handed pitchers like the Verlanders, the Scherzers, back in the day, Zach Greinke, all these guys with sliders and curveballs that break away from the bat. If you have all these big strikeout guys, how do you expect them to put a ball in play when there's a guy in scoring position, which has been an issue? You can't just go home run or bust. So, it's just the way that the lineup is constructed. It's not constructed to be competitive in the postseason. You need a couple of more lefties in there. You got to switch back and forth, and you got to get some guys who can put the bat on the ball. So I don't know what you're gonna do, but it's from the ground up. You kind of got to either restart from the beginning or really kind of retool in a way that cuts the dead weight, which they're not going to make a bunch of moves. So I don't know what they're going to do, but it's a fundamental standpoint. It's not the hitting coach. It's not oh, maybe it will be the philosophy, but we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, like I'm torn with the idea of saying that we have to break everything down. The Yankees usually don't rebuild, right? This roster construction by Brian Cashman has been poor for the last, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years. They've gotten too right-handed. They've gotten away from what made them successful in the past. Balanced lineups, lots of lefties. Come on, this is a short porch in right field. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
Power lefties, will generate home runs. Switch hitters, balance, being able to say I have some contact hitters with some power hitters with some speed guys, you can manufacture runs. The fact that we have gone from being, back in the 90s, you look at this team and they were a middle of the pack home run team. They were ranked 12th, 13th, 14th. Some years they'll rank 8th. But over the last 6 or 7 years, the Yankees have been routinely 1, 2, or 3. And yes, that can win you a lot of games during the regular season. Why? Because you beat up on a lot of bad teams. Look at how bad Baltimore was for four seasons. Look how bad some of these other AL teams that you play you play like 6 times a year. You can beat up on bad teams, and you can get fat like that. But now with teams just getting better overall, like the whole league, both in the NL and the AL, teams are just getting better. And with that being said, pitching is really what's killing a lot of this launch angle, high batting averages. If back in the 90s, you can say, all right, pitchers were throwing 80 to topping out around 94, and that allowed a lot of people to square things up. Now when you have pitchers throwing 98, 99, 100, 101, you get underneath a ball very quickly. You can pop something up very easily. You're gonna hit it off the end of the bat because you don't have the time to square something up. And the Yankees need to go back to a philosophy of we need contact hitting. We need to be able to move runners over. I love the fact that Anthony Volpe, when he came up, immediately he showed his impact by getting on base, stealing bags, causing havoc, distracting the pitcher. I don't know, with his slumps and his struggles in, April and May, he didn't get on as much. And then now that he's starting to pick up a little bit, you're noticing that he's not stealing as much anymore, which I really wish the Yankees would get back to. But tell me one big highlight of the season that you can say, okay, besides pitching, because pitching is real easy, it's a real easy cop out. But give me one bright spot that you can say, okay, we can build upon this one point or player, faction of the team, whatever.
I mean, recently that huge Harrison Bader home run was the big moment. And they keep having these big moments just randomly, like Herman's perfect game, Bader's big home run, and a couple other big home runs have happened. But they don't build off those opportunities. They show up the next day and they have sloppy defense. They make bad throws. They don't move the runners over. It's like I know Aaron Boone has been a part of a baseball family for like multiple generations, man, but they just don't teach the fundamentals. I'm like, these guys have been playing since they're 5 years old and they don't know how to play baseball. It's like, it's ridiculous. That's all I got about that right now.
It kind of is ridiculous. Like my bright spot, honestly, is the fact that Anthony Volpe has shown that he can get out of slumps. He can make adjustments. You know, when he first came on in at spring training, he kind of lit it on fire. He won that competition, hands down. There was no other shortstop that was competing though that played better. Coming into the season and those first couple weeks, it was a grind. He has hit for power, even when he was slumping. We know the whole chicken parm thing that happened with Austin Wells. Big joke. But he actually put in the work to identify what was going wrong, and he put it into play, and he showed results. To me, that's one of the biggest bright spots because one thing you can tell about a player if they're going to be good is if they can make adjustments on the fly, if they can correct what's going wrong and they can start trending in the right direction, because that's really all you want for a rookie. You don't need him to light it up, in the majors. You just need to see month after month progression and getting closer and closer. He's 22 years old. He's not going to hit his prime for another 3 to 4 years. So if we see the constant progression in his play, that's all we're really looking for. That's all we really need from him. He shouldn't be the savior for the Yankees. That should be for Judge, Stanton, the Rizzos, the LeMayus, though our veterans. Those are the saviors. He should be just a complimentary piece that can get on base, score you some runs, cause some havoc, and pop one every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. I'm super glad that they brought him up early so we can get rid of those growing pains in April, May, June, instead of holding on to him like they seem to do with everybody,
Mm.
calling him up in September and he doesn't click right away. Like they've never played at the MLB before. It takes time for them to adapt. Wouldn't you rather that happen early in the season and then they're like a good contributor by the postseason? For example, like Jeremy Pena.
Yep.
Astros did this last year. They're like, we're going to give him the keys and he's gonna go up and down, but he's gonna figure it out and learn it early, not when it really matters. Um, Now I wanted Volpe to come up with the clause that they would include Peraza in this infield that has an aging DJ, Donaldson, and Glaber, but they haven't found a spot for him yet. But fingers crossed, maybe they'll be able to dump Donaldson somewhere, or maybe they've given up on Glaber after that error yesterday. Who knows? But
No, the Yankees are too high on him. If they're gonna trade him, I think Glaber will be traded in the offseason. Right now, with your offensive struggles, Glaber is a bright spot in the lineup. He's the second or third highest in batting average. He has some power. He does have that extra base bat, and you kind of need that. Even though I wish he would change his approach a little bit more. He pulls the ball a little bit too much for my liking when he should be up the middle, opposite field. That should be his mindset every time I bat. But on the subject of bright spots, I do want to highlight the Yankees pitching. It has been amazing. Stats would show you that we are at least in the top 10 in all the categories that really matter, and that's a testament to Matt Blake. And I like to roast Aaron Boone, Dylan Lawson, the front office as much as I do. But you do have to kind of give them their flowers when someone is doing something right. We rank seventh in ERA, and that's including the bullpen and starters. So I know our bullpen is the number one in the MLB, but overall our pitching is seventh. We have 2 complete games, 2 shutouts. 10th in saves. We're throwing a lot of innings. We're not giving up as many hits, and we're not giving up as many earned runs. It's a testament to Matt Blake and his team. The guys are identifying what works, strengthening our pitchers' strengths, and telling them to use it more. I don't know why our hitting coach couldn't use that same philosophy: strengthen what's strong, and identify our weaknesses so that we can improve them. What is your thoughts, man?
I mean, I've seen people, they want Matt Blake for hitting coach, like the hitting coach of Matt Blake. I just recently saw that they hired Sean Casey, the left-handed hitter who used to play for the Reds, Tigers, among other teams, as their new hitting coach. He is that ex-player type of guy, and I think he was on MLB Network a bunch, so I mean, you've seen him before, but he's an ex-player and is a little more out of the unlucky, what should I call it? The Matt Blake school of pitching coaches, like those guys with the degrees and stuff. He's an ex-player. Maybe he'll be able to relate a little bit better to the hitters. I'm not sure, but yeah, we'll see.
So is that official? Like, did I know they said they were interested in him, but did they officially offer him the job?
Apparently, yeah, apparently.
All right, here we go. Even though this is a show that is most likely going to recap, what happens. So there's not a lot of breaking news that happens, and this will probably, by the time this premieres, this would be old news. But we breaking news. Hey, we got our hitting coach. So brava, brava.
Yep.
So this year we have witnessed a perfect game. Domingo Herman did the impossible with his background, right? With the domestic violence issues. I won't even consider the sticky stuff really a big deal, just because I believe when he says it's just rosin. He pitched well without as much rosin as he had in his hand when he got suspended as he did when he had it. So I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. It was just rosin, sweat. But with his background and his bad reputation, how do you, as a Yankee fan, celebrate or feel about his perfect game? Does it still mean as much as if, say, he had a sparkling reputation like a Derek Jeter?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I was watching it and I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this. I'm happy for Domingo. He seems to have kind of cleaned up his act a little bit. He, I probably would have been a little bit happier if it was like Garrett Cole or Luis Severino, one of our guys. But he's a part of the team. You don't want to really think about what he did, but you got to consider it kind of in the greater picture.
Yeah.
It's not okay. It's not right. But I see his post with his wife. I see everything about him. He seems to be in a better spot and seems to be past that incident that happened. So, I mean, good for him for the perfect game, but it didn't feel. I wasn't alive for David Cohn's or David Wells' perfect games. Those seemed a little bit more of a bigger thing in the greater scheme of things.
So I'm torn as well. I'm like 50-50. I watched it live and I was as pumped as anyone would be pumped for a perfect game. Then reflecting upon it, I had to, calm myself down a little bit. Immediately, congratulate him. He did do something that is rare. He's the 24th person to do it. If you do the percentage of how many people played, it is like so fractional. You can't even say it. That's how significant the feat is. Then, regards to his past, he's redeemed himself. He handled the suspension with class. He made his amends to his teammates. He's done everything he was supposed to do in regards to just manning up to it, which I can appreciate and I can, applaud him for. It doesn't feel as good as Coney's, and it doesn't feel as good as David Cone because I was actually alive for those, and I didn't see David Wells's live, but I did see David Cohn's live, and that was an amazing day. Even though most pitchers after a perfect game they don't ever pitch the same. Wells is the rare exception that he actually did better after, and then Cone his career is kind of over afterwards. But it's a lot to remain to be seen with Domingo Herman. I've always liked him as a pitcher. I never thought he was a number one, number two. I always thought he was a really good, solid three in any rotation. So I'm happy for the guy, happy for his family. He's the first Dominican-born player to pitch a perfect game, so it's great for the sport. It's great for the culture. I just wish he didn't slap his wife. That's my only thing. I just wish that never happened. Or if it did happen, just wish it never came to light. Because I would be so much more proud as being a Dominican myself to say, all right, that's my guy than I am right now. So moving on, because I don't give too much negativity or too much into domestic violence, but Anthony Volpe, we touched about it a little bit, but I want to go into a little bit more depth now. He's improving. He started off first half of the first half was really rough. He adjusted his feet, moved closer to the plate, and he's driving the ball more. What are you seeing with Volpe, and what's impressing you so far of his young season?
Being able to learn how to adapt to the league. I think he's done this at every level. He takes a little bit to get used to it, but then he improves and he steadily does well. Um, I think one issue that they've had is they keep moving him around. If they would just give him like the 7 or 8 spot in the lineup and stop trying at leadoff, um, then he would probably be a little bit more consistent. But we'll see how this goes. Hopefully he keeps on this trajectory, keeps hitting the ball hard, and finds some hits.
Yeah, I'm excited for what's in store for him. I actually have a tweet that I wanted to share. Hold on, let me find it. I actually had this tweet. Just a reminder, Volpe has 13 home runs, more than the following shortstops: Wanda Franco, Carlos Correa, Dansby Swanson, Bogarts, Turner, and Jeremy Pena. And I think we lost Tyler. So yeah, while he gets back in, I'll try to keep this rolling for us. Um, there he goes.
Yep, I'm here.
So yeah, I don't know. Did you catch the tweet that I put up there?
Yeah, I saw a little bit of it. I just
I'll put it back up real quick so you can
lost
see
it
it.
for a second. It's a little bit blurry for
Yeah,
me.
so I'll read it. For just a reminder, Volpe has 13 home runs, more than the following shortstops: Wander
Oh
Franco,
yeah, yeah.
Carlos Correa, Dansby Swanson, Bogarts, Turner, and Pena. I actually thought that was an amazing tweet just because he has started so poorly, but the power is still there, which is surprising to me. What do you think?
I mean, I think he'll run into one here and there, kind of like Donaldson. But I rather the consistent hits.
Oh yeah.
I'd rather him kind of get a higher average, kind of work that way up towards the probably like 270,
Mm-hmm.
280. I see for him, and then say he has 20, 25 home runs. That's good, but we don't need him to be a power hitter. We need him to get on base and run wild like Ellie De La Cruz.
That was actually crazy. Stole
That
second,
was kind of
stole
crazy.
third, and stole home. I think he did it within what, five pitches, something like that.
I don't know. I didn't
I
see.
know
I wasn't
I know he
watching the game.
stole third and home in 2 pitches, and then I think it was something like that. Like he pretty much ran around the bases in like 5 pitches, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's like me in Little League, man. I'd like start creeping my way towards the next base, and then the catcher would throw it back, and you just take off. I mean, if you have that kind of speed, got to use it, right?
And that's what I wish Volpe would do a little bit more of. And I'm hoping that this comes in the second half now that he's getting a little bit more comfortable, getting a little more acclimated in the show. That he starts to take that skill set because that's a big piece of his game that we lost for a couple. Like it was like non-existent for 7 weeks because he just couldn't get on base. And I think pitchers are starting to, get a little bit more savvy with his little jump lead thing that he does. He got picked off the other day, for the first time in his career, and I'm sure it's going to happen many, many, many a times. But I just wish that would be a little bit more prominent part of his game, especially going to the second half. We kind of need it. We need to be able to manufacture runs, especially if we don't know when Aaron Judge is coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting pretty tired of guys just rolling over to third base or shortstop. It's the same old thing as last year. I mean, if a guy's on first base, try to push the ball towards the right side, man.
Hmm.
Stop rolling it over to third base and getting it to double plays. We've seen it time and time again, especially in big spots. Like they'll just like tap it back to the pitcher and they'll throw it home to get the force at home and throw it first, and then your bases loaded threat is over.
It's done.
It's like learn baseball, man.
Learn baseball. All right,
Learn baseball.
so as we finish our recap for the first half, this is where we currently stand in the grand scheme of the American League. We got Tampa with the number one spot, so if the playoffs ended today, they get a bye. So with the Texas Rangers, have been just, can I say, they've been a great team. I wasn't expecting them to get hot this quick or get good this quick. They always had the hitting to do it, but I just didn't think that the additions with the pitching rotation would actually propel them to be this good.
Yeah, I mean, even without DeGrom, it's surprising. Actually, recently, I can't see what the standings say there, but Texas has started to cool off a little bit
Yeah,
since
they're
he was
three
on
and
the
seven
program.
in their last 10.
Yeah, so I don't know how the pitching is holding up. I mean, it is a huge loss of DeGrom, but their offense still ranks top in the majors. They got Corey Seager back a few weeks ago, which is awesome. One of
Yeah.
my favorite players. And they're going to keep chugging, but I think by the time the season's over, them and Houston will probably be pretty tight and be fighting it out towards the end.
And that's what scares me. So let's kind of finish looking at this. We have Cleveland that, they've taken the Central. The Central is just wide open. Anyone can take it. They're the lead in the Central and they're
The
500.
Red Sox would be in first place in the
A
Central.
lot of teams, a lot of teams in the AL will probably be in first place. But they got the third spot on the wild card. Then they have the first spot in the Central, and then we have Baltimore, Houston, and Toronto 1, 2, and 3 in the wild card. With the Yankees being one game out. Boston is what scares me. Seattle scares me, and then Minnesota usually always finds a way to make runs towards the end of the season. With this playoff picture going into the second half, what are like two or three keys for the Yankees to get not only secure a spot, but potentially, move forward in the playoffs so that we can finally get a pennant. We can finally get to the World Series and the championship.
It's hard to see that happening with the way the roster is currently constructed. Um, I mean, there's probably two teams that really stand out this year, the Rays and Texas. But unless the Yankees can make a pretty savvy trade to pick up a couple of new bats in the lineup, if like two-thirds of the lineup is that much below average, nothing's going to happen that's going to make them above average out of nowhere. I mean, maybe the hitting coach will change philosophy a little bit, but I really don't see it changing too much because these guys have been hitting the way they've been hitting for years. That's what made them pros, but they're just not above average professionals and they're aging. So there's just the trajectory is down, not up.
I agree. And now that we have an idea of who our hitting coaches is going to be, one thing that I would love for them to just get rid of immediately is the concept of launch angle. You look at Luis Ariz, you look at like the Cody Bellingers, guys that have high batting averages, and they have some of the lowest launch angles and slowest max exit velocity. You look at their Statcast page, and you will sit there and be like, no team will want them. But then you look at their average and be like, oh, that's why they're still here. And that bothers me the most with this New York Yankee team. They're home run or bust, and you can't win championships that way. The home runs, yes, they eventually, you're gonna need to hit one to win a World Series. But when your whole team is the three true outcomes, either you're gonna walk, you're gonna strike out, you're gonna hit a home run, I will put money that you'll most likely strike out more than you'll do the other two.
Yeah, it's like the baseball savant pages are great for a few things, but as soon as they get on the field, you can tell. It's like I'm not a scout or anything, but you know, there's certain guys who provide value to the team
Mm-hmm.
and do some things good. But then there's guys who in all like five tools, they're just below average and I'm like, what are you providing? It's like this was IKF last year. But now IKF in a utility role, not playing every day, has played better and he's changed his approach instead of the way he swung last year, there's no way physically possible for the ball to go out if you're swinging peppering it like he
Yeah,
has. But he changed the ball to attack the ball, and I don't know what he's up to now. It's probably 4 or 5 home runs, but he's hitting better. He's driving the ball better,
mm-hmm.
and he's putting solid contact on the ball and providing value.
I
So
agree. Now so everyone in the East kind of cooled down in towards the end of June. The last 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks, everyone kind of cooled down. My question to you is now knowing where the Yankees are. They're in fourth place, 8 games behind Tampa, 1 game behind Toronto, 5 games behind Baltimore. My question to you is the AL East winnable? Can the Yankees get that number one spot? Can they dethrone Tampa?
how many are they behind Tampa?
They are currently 8 games back.
8 games back behind Tampa. And do you know how many games they are playing against Tampa the rest of the year?
I believe they have only. I believe they have a lot of games left. They only have 4 or 6 against Baltimore left. I think they may have like 9 games left with Tampa. Let me just double check. You can give me a take while I double check that.
So 9 games left against Tampa. Now you gotta win the majority of them, obviously. But if the Yankees got to roll down into St. Pete, I really don't see them winning down there and really taking charge in this division. It's highly unlikely. And Hal's going to be just as happy as if he gets a wild card spot. If they're in the playoffs, they play a series, they get all the revenue for the chicken buckets, they'll be happy. So unless unless the Yankees bring in like Otani or something, it's not happening.
So I just looked it up and I'm actually surprised. I didn't know we played that many games against Tampa. We only have 6 games left, head to head, with the Rays, and that's the end of July through August, and then 4 games, and then 2 games in late August. That's really it. 4 games in and two
Yeah,
games in.
I bet there's a lot of interleague play coming up soon.
Yeah, now that everyone has to play everyone, like this schedule's a little bit funky, and it's gonna be interesting. Now, I honestly think that this is a very winnable division for the Yankees. It being 8 games back as how bad as they played and how good Tampa started the season. You told me that if you would have asked me this maybe 3 weeks ago, I would have said there's no way. Now that Tampa has been pretty much playing 500 baseball for over a month now. Baltimore similar. The only team that's really been decent of late is Boston in the AL East. Boston is the only team that's been kind of hot. They're on a 5 game winning streak, 8-2 the last 10. They are actually kind of scary, and if they make a couple moves in this deadline, the AL East is going to get very interesting, very very interesting, very quickly. And that teases up to our next topic. Trades, man. What do you want the Yankees to go out and acquire? Now, be mindful. The Yankees are not going to trade for Shohei Ohtani. They're not going to give up the farm for half a season of the guy. So give me like 1 or 2 realistic trades of what you're looking for and what can help, revamp and give this lineup a facelift.
I think the three names you're going to hear the most of over the next 3 weeks are Cody Bellinger, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Lane Thomas, number two.
Mm.
And Heimer Candelario. Um, Maybe they look to get both of those guys from the Nationals in one deal. That might help them out instead of having to come together with two deals that Cashman thinks he won. Yeah, one-stop shop might help him, but there's very limited options it seems, and the ones who do, the options that are available, they they don't seem to be that big of an upgrade, unless unless the Mets and the Padres really become sellers, which if they're spending that much money, I really don't think they're gonna become sellers, and plus they still have a chance to get into that wild card. And so I really don't think there's too much available, but you're going to hear Bellinger, you're going to hear Candelario, but really I only see the Yankees. They're going to get Bellinger, they're going to get Nestor back. They have Rodon added to the rotation, and then a couple other guys coming back from injury like Judge, and they'll say that they had a successful trade deadline. So I don't expect much, but if I do expect something, it's going to look like Bellinger or something internally. Maybe they finally give Florial the reins for an extended period, see if he can do it, but I highly doubt it.
No. To touch on a couple points that you said, one, Florio, I don't think is ever going to get a shot. Um, there's three major things that's wrong with Florio, right? And it's not even his stats, right? It's the fact that he's not on a 40-man roster, so they're going to have to DFA somebody. So yes, when you could theoretically say if Josh Donaldson gets DFA'd, yes, that could open up a roster spot for Florio. Cool. The other problem is that he's out of options. So if you do put him on the 40 and you do promote him to the 26-man roster, you have to be willing to commit to him for the entirety of the 2023 season. I don't think the Yankees are willing to commit that. And on top of that, he strikes out way too much. He's still striking out around 28, 29%. And if the Yankees are true to what they're saying, that they are trying to mitigate or stop, all these strikeout guys and not add more to their lineup, I don't think Florial will have a place on this team. Now, is Florial a trade piece? Now that's where things could get interesting. And we can start having that conversation of potentially now that because most people will be like, well, he's not tradable because teams could have had him for free when they DFA'd him in the beginning of the season. But Florio wasn't playing the way he's playing right now then. So he is definitely a trade piece. I don't think he's going to headline anything. He's most likely a throw-in. Let me sweeten the deal to get a Cody Bellinger and have the Cubs pay the remainder of his salary this year. Hey, Florio, throw that in. Maybe I can get you to do that. That's my idea. Think of it. So I don't know. My trade ideas. If so, the Padres and the Mets. You said you don't think they're sellers. The Padres is 6 games out of the wild card. The Mets is 7 games. You have potentially 70 games left in the season, 71 for both teams. I don't necessarily think either team, unless they get extremely hot, are going to make the playoffs. And I know, there's reports. Ken Rosenthal, John Heyman, everyone say the Padres are not going to sell Soto. So did the Nationals. They were saying it all the way up to the day before they traded him. They were not going to trade Soto. They're not going to trade Soto. And it was a Padre. So until August 1st comes and he does not get moved, my opinion is he will be traded. And if that's the case, that's the move. You need to pair a Juan Soto with a Cody Bellinger, with a maybe a Newt Bar if he's available, depending on what you want to do with the outfield. Juan Soto is not enough. He's a good piece. He will be very complimentary when Aaron Judge returns, but there has to be more corresponding moves behind Cody Bellinger and behind a Juan Soto. I would love both, but I don't know what it will cost us to get both. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, it's not just a one guy problem. Getting one player is not going to change the Yankees offense as a whole. Once you get past like the three hitter, it's all downhill from there. Um, so yeah, getting a few pieces would be nice. If they're trading for a Juan Soto type guy, they're probably not going to have anything left to deal from.
Mm.
So, I mean, Juan Soto, insert Juan Soto into this lineup, batting second between Judge and Rizzo. That would make a huge difference for years to come. And people are going to want him to be extended the second that he signs. But I highly doubt that Cashman makes a trade of that magnitude. And if he does, Juan Soto is still going to want to test the open market because Otani's going to set the standard.
Yeah.
Otani's, if he gets 800 mil, Soto's going to want 600 mil, something like that.
I just
So
that scares me. How the hell can
yeah,
you give Shohei Ohtani $800 million? I don't know. Ooh, that just gave me chills. That's a nasty precedent where a lot of these free agent, signings are going towards. Like, Judge, doing 9 at 40 a year. The Scherzer and Verlander are doing 43 and a quarter each a year. It's just scary the amount of money these pro athletes are getting and how easily how injury prone or how easy it is to get injured in this game. It's kind of scary. I honestly, my gut is telling me that there's probably not a need to trade for a left fielder or a third baseman or even a catcher. Those are the biggest three needs. I honestly think we have the pieces in house. You have Everson Pereira, who just got promoted. He can play left field. You have Ben Rorvet and Austin Wells that can potentially catch for us. And then we have the guy, my guy, fucking Peraza, Oswald Peraza. Like I don't know what this kid did wrong to not warrant a call up, but he deserves to be here. He deserves to be on this team. Josh Donaldson is just clogging a spot for him. And honestly, if you were to plug those guys in and give them the opportunity that Volpe got to just grow and learn how to be a major leaguer, come September, you can have a very exciting team. I don't know. What's your thoughts? Is that too much to ask for? Too many rookies on the same team for Brian Cashman?
it is for Cashman. I have no problem with it at all. Peraza is one of my favorite prospects, and I don't know what he did, like you said, to deserve to be stuck in the Scranton team. It's going to be like Clint Frazier and Miguel Andujar again. I don't know where in this Yankees organization they decided that they don't know how to manage prospects. They should take a book from the Orioles and the Reds
Mm.
and call their good players up and give them a chance and see how they do. There's no other way to do it. You just got to give them reps. And I don't know. I know Pereira's good, but I don't know how willing they'd be to call him up from AAA after only he's probably at about 7, 8 games right now, and I really don't know how likely they are to use a different catcher because the catchers know the staff, they know the repertoire, they know all that stuff, and they call the game the way the Yankees brass wants.
They're gonna
So,
have to make a decision though. Higgy's a free agent after this season. You
thank
know,
God.
what's his name? Trevino. He was a platinum winner last year, but he's not a platinum catcher this year. The bat is non-existent. You're gonna have to make a decision, and Higgy's making it very difficult to sit there and say, maybe you trade me, because he's been hitting lately. He's actually been hot, and he popped a few. He's been hitting for extra bases. He's been getting on, and he's been calling a couple good games this season. He called the perfect game. So I know that the Yankees are very reluctant to switch catchers at the mid-season, but you don't have to switch both. You can keep either or. You pick your poison. I don't even care. To me, they're both similar in every regard. Higgy could call a good game. Trevino could call a good game. They both have similar arms. None of them blow you out the water. But Ben Rortvet needs to be up here. He's a lefty bat. He has a cannon behind the dish, and you don't lose anything with his defense. He can steal pitches and frame just as good as Higgy and Trevino. Actually, a little better if you look at the his metrics. He actually is a tad better than both. So I don't get the argument of not calling him up, and they have to make a decision on Higgy. Like they have to determine, figure out in the next month, are they gonna think about moving him, because you're getting to that point where you might as well you're not going to offer him a qualifying offer because he's most likely going to take it. That 19 million is a raise of what he's getting now. So yeah, you're
No,
not paying
no,
him
don't do
that.
that.
Yeah. So you're not
Don't
paying
do
him that.
that.
So you either get something for Higgy, and I'm not saying, you're going to get Juan Soto for fucking Higgy, but I know you can get a decent back end rotation piece plus a prospect or two, or you can get a nice closer plus a prospect or two for Higgy. So I don't know. People call me crazy, but I honestly think one of the two have to go at this deadline. What are your thoughts?
I totally agree with you. I think by the end of next year, the catching tandem should be Rortvet and Wells,
Yeah.
two lefty hitting catchers. And recently, I don't think Higashioka can throw to bases. He airmails it every time I've seen recently. It's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
there, there's multiple positions where offense has been abysmal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, catcher is probably the worst. But
No,
yeah,
third
that's one
base.
place you can upgrade.
Third
That's one
base.
place you can upgrade. Third base too. 10 home runs and 15 hits for Josh
I mean,
Donaldson.
that's not a flex. Like, I get the Yes Network is trying to spin how bad he's been and saying this is historic, but that's not a flex, bro. To get
I
15
can't.
hits.
I can't deal with it anymore.
You know what? That's a good transition because we were talking about bad players and Josh Donaldson is bad. And then, I did want to bring up the Luis Severino. We got like maybe 10 minutes left in the show. So let's talk a little bit about Sevy because I used to love Sevy. Sevy was probably one of the most exciting young talents to probably come out of our farm system since Alfonso Soriano, being 100% honest with you. Robinson Cano was cool and all, but I was never a Cano fan. But Soriano for me, being part of that Yankees towards the end of that Yankees dynasty, he was a great player. Sevy has fallen off the face of the earth. Injuries has derailed his entire career, and this season he doesn't look like the same guy. Like what I know you are, you go to school for this, and a lot of people are saying that he is hiding an injury. And a lot of people are pointing towards like his groin, leg area. Are you seeing anything that can, attest to that, or are you seeing anything that can explain why that he's hiding an injury? Can you see that when he pitches?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you remember him pitching against the Rangers at the end of last year. He had the stuff. His stuff was fantastic. And so you want to think that it's an injury, and like you want to think that if he fixes that injury that he'll come back. But it's like time and time again. I mean, I love Severino. He was the ace for a while there after Tanaka. Um, but he just doesn't have it right now. Maybe he needs a reset with the All Star break. Maybe putting him back in the bullpen for like the fourth time would help. His stuff just looks flat. Everybody's hitting it and hitting it far. He's not missing bats, and so good Severino has like 98, 99 in the tank, and I don't know where exactly he was sitting, but it wasn't close to there. It was probably 94, 95, and he's shown signs a couple times, but it's just not there this year, and so I don't
It's
know what you got to
not.
do with him.
Like, this is not Sevy. 1-4, 7.38 ERA.
7-3.
He's pitched 42 in the third innings. He's given 58 hits, 35 earned runs, 11 home runs, 19 walks, and he's striking out less than a batter inning. Like, that's not Sevy. Like, I don't look at his career. Like, his career, he's a 364 hitter. That's including the 738. But look at some of the strikeouts per innings pitched. 746 for 680 career innings. Like, he is a flamethrower and a strikeout guy. I don't I think he is hiding an injury. He has to be, and if he is, that is the most selfish thing he can do for the team. I get it. It's his walk year. He wants the bag. He wants the accolades. He wants the money. But this is not how you go about it.
Yeah, he may not accept demotion to the bullpen because he won't get paid as much. So I really don't know what you have to do with him. Maybe the All Star break will help. Maybe it won't. But it's it's getting close to that last straw. Like
Hmm.
I'm not angry at him at all. I give him time, but they're running out of time with him
Yeah.
because he's going to be a free agent. Um, and it's just sad because he was our guy for a while there, and he has the stuff in him somewhere, so it's something's holding him back.
And call me crazy, and you can if you want. I
You're
honestly,
crazy.
yeah, I know. I honestly think, and I know it might be hard to find a partner to do this, but I think Luis Severino might do well with a change of scenery, and being able to trade him for like maybe another expiring contract, someone that is probably pitching similarly. That both teams like, all right, maybe if he comes to us, maybe we can fix him. One of those swaps of two bad pitchers, two expiring contracts, two veterans, and you do a nice little swap and see what you can get. Because I can't continue to watch Sevy do this for us. What do you think? That's crazy?
I mean, I was looking into trade values yesterday, and he has like -1 or -2 trade value.
That's not
And I
bad. I've
mean,
seen worse.
it, it, you see Stanton's fate. But I wouldn't mind like switching Severino with like a Marcus Stroman. And now that's a whole nother debate about whether Marcus Stroman would fit in with the Yankees.
Yeah.
But um, you could swap him with another pitcher, and then I mean, but then you got to add a little value to get the other guys. I mean, I could see like a Stroman and Bellinger package to the Yankees, but
Yeah, that won't
Yankees
headline with
don't.
Sevy. Nah, the Cubs are not gonna
Yeah,
want Sevy back. I was thinking, like what's his name, Farley, something like that. That type of guy. You know,
I just don't see it happening.
yeah,
They might as well just hold on to him, see if they can fix him before the year ends, and then if he's not garbage, maybe sign him back to like a $2 or $3 million deal, which won't happen.
no, I don't want Sevy back. I love him. I think his that time has just passed. He's got his extension. He did not pitch. He didn't pitch really for us during that entire extension. You gave him a shot. We've had him for what? It's now 8 years. It's just that time. It's
Mm.
time to move on. And we have guys in our system that can fill in. Like we got the burritos in the world. They could be a Sevy number two. Vasquez. You have guys that can fill that void of Sevy being gone. I actually think Nestor Cortez, if he was healthy, he was pitching right now, it would have been a perfect little addition addition by subtraction to help with our offense. Like you already have great pitching, and you have some guys in your depth that can help you, and you can get a quality bat. But him being hurt now, put on the 60-day, kind of ruined that plan for me when I started when we started the season.
Yeah, I mean, even when Nestor was healthy, he wasn't pitching too good, unfortunately.
Yeah, but Nestor's Nestor. I wasn't expecting him to do what he did last year. That to me that always been an admiration. Like I was okay with it. We're gonna ride the hand while we have him. He's pitching great, cool, but he never was that guy. So I never expected him to keep it up. I was really in the off season like sell high. Like if you had the opportunity to make a deal,
Yeah,
that was the time to do it, because he's coming down to earth now, and you had an opportunity and you didn't, you squandered it. We
yeah,
are
the Yankees are
approaching.
the worst.
Yeah,
They're the worst at selling high when players are up.
yep. So we're approaching that 1 hour mark. I don't want to keep people here too long watching us go back and forth on some Yankee talk, but it is the All Star break. The bullpen gets to reset, everything like that. The rotation gets to reset. Our offense hopefully can reset. Last predictions of what you expect. We're starting off the second half in Colorado. What are you looking for in that series to see if the Yankees are back?
So I think coming out of it, we got Rodon first game,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was
Clark,
Schmidt,
yeah, Clark, and then Cole.
Cole. But Cole may depend on whether he pitches in the All Star game.
Mm-hmm.
However, actually that's probably no more pitches than he'd throw on a bullpen in between. So I don't think that'll change
Yeah,
either
I think
way.
he'll be on like on a 20, 25 pitch limit.
Yeah. So you got Rodon, Schmidt, and Garrett Cole. You're playing. Are they playing at home at Coors Field? I think
I
it's at
believe they're
Coors.
playing in Coors Field.
Okay. So you're playing at Coors Field with a struggling offense. If they don't put up a bunch of runs and show that something has changed, then it's time to start worrying, and then you hopefully Cashman starts wheeling and dealing for some hitters, but
Oh
there's not
shit! It's time to
not much
start
of it.
worrying. I'm getting worried.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, if I'm gonna reserve my thoughts for. Let's see what this new hitting coach comes in. I'm gonna give him a couple weeks to see
Yeah.
if what he's implementing is gonna yield any positive results. Probably get some guys worrying about more contact than launch angle. I'm praying that that's the case. So we end every show with a game called Justify or Against. The way this works is I give you an Aaron Boone decision, and you have to choose whether you justify it or you're against it, and then why, and then I have to argue the opposing viewpoint, regardless if I agree with it or not. So you ready?
Sure thing.
All right, so I'm gonna make this a little easy because it's fresh in our mind. Yesterday, during a Herman, this German Sunday, he had 74 pitches into the seventh inning. He walked the batter, and then Aaron Boone comes out like he has a freaking firecracker up his ass, and he pulls Herman, and he was cruising. Justify it, or are you against it?
I'm gonna go with against this one. Now I put the blame obviously on Glaber Torres for that big error, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna say allow Herman to pitch until he gets another base runner. Maybe he throws a nice curveball, gets a double play right there, and there's no issue. 74 pitches is a little low, but I mean, unless he's really trying to like manage innings in the
Yeah.
long run, which I'm fine with that because we don't need him to blow his elbow out. But it's Boone. I'm usually not the biggest Boone criticizer because any other person would
You are
make
fake
similar
news.
Come on, I see your
mistakes.
Twitter feeds. I see you be
My Twitter.
criticizing Boone.
Yeah, I mean that's just impulsive stuff right there.
Okay.
We're gonna go against this one and say he should have left Herman in there for at least another batter, another base runner. So let's see
Yeah.
what you got. How are you gonna defend this?
Yeah, this is gonna be hard. All right, I got one. Okay. All right, I could justify this. Ready? I'm gonna think like Boone. I'm putting my Boone hat on.
Uh-oh. Does that make you slow or something?
Yeah. I had to pick my nose real quick before I start. I wish I had gum. I'll blow a couple bubbles. The reason why I would justify this is because the bullpen has had no work in 2 games, and before you go into an All-Star break where they're not going to touch a ball, hopefully, or they're not going to throw off a mound. Maybe they'll throw catch with their family or whatever. They're not going to throw off a mound for another 4 days. You'll want to get your guys some work, especially the higher leverage guys. The Clay Holmes, Wandy, those type of guys. Ian Hamilton. He's what's his name? Is
Not
blanking.
Cordero.
No, not no. Oh, ouch, ouch. Yeah, he's and that's another woman beater. We're not gonna do that. Yeah, so he had to get his guys some innings and some work. So he had to pull Herman, even though that was a horrible, horrible, horrible decision.
What the dog doing?
What
I
my
just
man
got a
doing?
notification.
Uh-oh.
Garrett Cole's starting the All-Star game.
Yo,
He
that's
wanted
my
it badly.
guy. That is my guy. One more time.
He wanted it so badly.
No, he deserves it, man. He honestly deserved it. You know, you guys gonna be watching this out obviously after the All-Star game, so crossing our fingers that he puts out a representative inning for the boys. He represents, but he wanted this. You know, he wanted to pitch. It meant a lot to him, and the All-Star game is a personal accolade. So that's the one time I can honestly look at a Yankee and say, okay, he wanted to pitch that, and he deserves it.
Yeah, I'm happy for him. Just stay healthy. That's
Facts.
it.
For Garrett Cole. Yeah, he got paid a lot of money, but that's my guy. He's our ace, and we're gonna ride with him no matter what. So, closing thoughts, Tyler. Thank you for a great first episode. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you.
Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. It's hard to be positive, but the Yankees they're above 500.
Yep.
They're not in the Mets situation, so that's one thing to be happy about. And maybe Cashman feels some pressure from Hal Steinbrenner because that seems to be the only thing that motivates him. So maybe
Pressure from the boss.
Say, we need some sluggers, man, and maybe he goes and gets 2 or 3 bats, but he'll probably make some marginal upgrades somewhere and say guys are coming back healthy, and so that's his trade deadline.
Yeah, my closing thoughts is we just got to get the big boy, Aaron Judge. The toe watch is on day 33. No updates, so we got to get the captain healthy. That's the start of everything. Carlos Rodon being healthy, Garrett Cole continuing to be healthy is all great signs. I have no issues with this rotation or our pitching. I think they're going to continue to excel as Matt Blake gets more and more experience under his belt. It's really this offense, and getting Aaron Judge is the first step of getting us back on track and potentially getting our number 28th World Series ring. And we have to do it this year. We have to, because we can't waste a perfect game. This would be the first year in Yankees history that we pitch a perfect game and do not win a World Series. So it has to fucking happen. Has to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, we'll see if it actually does.
All right, Tyler. Until next week, guys. Peace.
Adios.
Aaron Judge! Aaron Judge! Aaron Judge! Aaron Judge! Aaron Judge!